There's a question from the YouTube, INA Creativity. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Isbah from Pakistan. Why don't you give public lectures as you used to give before? The question asked by Isbah is that why don't I give public lectures as I used to give before? The answers can be divided into 2 or 3 parts. Number 1, I remember when I started doing dawah in the early 90s. I got inspired by Sheikh Didat in 1987. I was doing mainly one-to-one dawah. Then in the early 90s, I started giving public talks. And then I started traveling. The first talk I think I gave was in South Africa in 1994. My first talk outside India. And then I remember I used to give a lot of talks. I remember when I went to Kuwait in 1998. In one day, I gave 8 talks. One is immediately after Fajr early in the morning, and last talk was 2 o'clock in the night. 8 talks. 8 public talks in a day. I remember when I used to travel towards the end of the 90s and the early parts of 2000, I used to spend maybe a few days and I used to give tens of lectures. On average, few lectures a day. Maybe more than 1 lecture a day, 2-3 lectures a day on average. So I spend there about 5 days and about maybe 10-15 lectures. We spend a week and we give maybe 20 lectures. Later on, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as time went on growing, alhamdulillah, Allah gave more power in my speech. Allah put love and mercy into the heart of the people. Previously, when I used to give lectures, my audience, I remember, Sheikh Ahmad Didat, the person who inspired me, may Allah grant Jannah, Rahimullah, he had told me, when you come to Saudi Arabia, expect few people. Don't expect the way you get in India, thousands of people. And the first talk I gave in Saudi Arabia, it was in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. My first talk in Jeddah, I was expecting maybe 10-15 people, and mashallah, more than 1,000 people came. So Allah has blessed that initially when it started only the numbers were in thousands. Okay, Western countries were initially few hundred, then into thousands. But as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept on putting love of me into the hearts of the Muslims and even many of the non-Muslims, then the strategy changed, and maybe in the year 2010 onward, etc., I preferred giving few lectures with larger audiences. And that's how my talks became few, but the numbers became large. And then we were more involved in the media. We used to record the programs and see to it that many people used to watch. So that's how most of the talks abroad, used to have large gathering. Maybe if you see from the year 2010 to 2016, we had to travel a lot. The audiences abroad were 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, large gatherings. In India, it was 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million. So few lectures, larger audience. If you count the number of people in public talks, every year increased. Means if I went to a city and spent 5 days and gave maybe 15 talks, or spent 2 weeks and give 20 talks. Now I go to a country, I give talks only on the weekends. But the number of people coming for the talks, for those 2 talks, are much more than 10 talks put together. That's number 1. But that's not the only thing. We also record this on the media, and when it goes on the social media people watch to a larger number on social media and on the satellite channel. So when we started the satellite channel in 2006, our main focus was see to it that programs on the satellite channels are good. So my talks became less, but the reach became more. Now the satellite in 2016, Peace TV English alone had 100 million viewers. Then Urdu, mashallah, had 80 million viewers. Bangla had 50 million viewers. Chinese had 20 million viewers. Now the viewership has a little bit declined. So previously it was about 250 million all put together. Now it may have reduced to maybe 200 million all put together. Because more people are watching social media, but the television yet has its advantage. So now because of social media, we are coming on the social media. The Facebook is there. Now my Facebook has 23.9 million, mashallah, subscribers. The YouTube has 3.89 million subscribers, and the Instagram, so on and so forth. So in terms of lectures, I do agree with you. Public lectures, I do agree. It has reduced. And, because of the onslaught of the Indian government 2016, after that, 2016, I only started traveling to countries which are more friendly to Muslims, as well as those countries which I know doesn't have good hold of India. As you know that because of the onslaught of the Indian government, the BJP government, Narendra Modi had to do hijrah in 2016 from India to Malaysia. After I did hijrah, of course the Indian government was after me. So after 2016, whenever I traveled to any country, whether Muslim or non-Muslim country, I did not travel to the country until I had invitation from the head of state or the home minister. So all the countries that I've traveled after 2016, all it was an invitation or it was a sanction or a nod from the head of state, whether it be the prime minister or the president or the sheikh or the king or the person, or from the home ministry. Because I wanted to be safe and secure, because India is a very powerful country and you know that Modi is very powerful and is close to many countries, especially Muslim countries. So any country I went, I saw to it that it was hosted by the government, by the head of state or by the home minister. So that's the reason after 2016, one of the reasons that the countries where I used to travel before without this condition, I stopped going. The invitations are yet coming. Anyone invites me, I say, if you give me the invitation from the head of state or from the home minister, I'll come. I remember in 2020, April, I was invited a couple of months, I think in January 2020, I was invited. There's going to be a program in April in Canada where Justin Trudeau, who is the president of the Prime Minister of Canada, he was going to be the chief guest. I was called as a guest of honor, and the Muslim MP was invited and accepted that because it was through the government and indirectly the head of state of Canada was there. But unfortunately because of COVID, the program was cancelled. So one thing that in between, okay, in 2016 I traveled to many countries, 17 I traveled, but during the span when I came and I migrated to Malaysia, I was here for 1 year rest and then I started traveling again, but then COVID came. So in 2020 and 21, I did not travel because of COVID. But one thing good that happened is I started this session, Ask Dr. Zakir. In 2020, I remember in Ramadan, it was in April, the lockdown came in March, and I said, okay, now I cannot travel, all the programs have been cancelled, there was no talk, not in Malaysia, not outside, what to do? And I like giving talks. So we started this Ask Dr. Zakir, and that time when we started in Ramzan, in April 2020, I used to give twice a week. But then I realized that giving twice a week, reading the questions, we thought it would be easy, only the talk and maybe a couple of hours of preparation and giving the talk. We realized that average in a week, 20,000 questions started coming. So the biggest ordeal is to read these questions. So I had a team, and my team doesn't read all the 20,000. Maybe 5,000, 6,000, whatever they read. From that, they passed me 100 questions. From that 100, I select 20 questions to answer, approximately. So then, after Ramadan, because of all my other activities, the satellite, etc., I reduced it to once a week. And when the COVID ended, maybe in 2021, 2022, when my son Farik came to Malaysia, or he was in Saudi, that time we used to join. I used to handle 1.5 hour, my son half an hour. But when he came to Malaysia, then I handled Ask Dr. Zakir on the first and the third Saturday, and my son handles Ask Sheikh Farik on the second and the fourth Saturday. So many, but because it reduced, I changed from 1.5 hour to 2 hours. So the length has remained approximately same. Previously was in Ramadan, it was 1 hour twice a week, then became 1.5 hour once a week. Now it becomes 2 hours to 2 hours 15 minutes twice a month. So it comes to approximately 1 hour a week for me, but Farik additional takes 1 hour every fortnight, so 2 hours a month. But naturally the audience on the social media live, on the Facebook, on the YouTube, on the Instagram, on the Peace TV, the thing is large. But coming back to your question, yes, public talks has reduced. Now one thing is there, I prefer public talks because in public talks I enjoy, and I'm giving a talk standing, I can see the audience live. It's different than talking in front of a camera. Both are different. But one good thing that happened in the Ask Dr. Zakir Naik sessions We are in the 12th season. The first Ramadan season had about 9 sessions. Now each of the season have normally 6 sessions, sometimes 7. So already 12. So already more than 70 sessions have taken place, of about 1.5 to 2 hours. And more than 1,500 questions have been answered. The difference in this and the public lecture is, the public lecture is good, of course, inspiring, a lot of cameras, audiences there, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. And even in this time, in Malaysia, before the COVID, I had given the talk, just before the COVID in 2019, when I gave a talk in Malaysia, in Kelantan, there were more than 100,000 people. In 2017, when I gave in Indonesia, there were 110,000 people in Jakarta. So the audiences, of course, those talks with the number of cameras, 12, it's much better. In terms of impact, it is 10 to 20 times better. But as far as the talks are concerned, excellent. As far as the questions are concerned, there were many questions which were repetitive. And we cannot say this question has been asked 1 year back, I cannot answer. I cannot say this question was, yes, if it's asked same day, I can refuse answering. Or if it was asked yesterday in another talk in the same city, I can say it was answered yesterday. But I cannot say it was answered 1 month back in Nigeria or 1 month back in Qatar. I have to answer. So there were questions which were repetitive. So if you remove the duplicate, suppose every public talk, I may handle about 10 to 20 questions, out of which more than 50% are repetition. Or some questions which ask twice, some 3 times, some 10 times. So the net impact, you could say unique question, you could say 25% only. Absolutely unique. In this program, ask Dr. Zakir, the repetitions are very few. Maybe less than 10%. So when we get this 20,000 question, my staff has been trained that if the questions normally which I've already answered in public lectures, avoid them. If it is already answered in this, avoid them. Sometimes there are repetition if it has a different angle. So there are questions which are repeated. Therefore, I say 10% less than that. It may have a different angle, so half the answer may be same, half may be new. So the questions are unique. So in these 3 years, 20, 21, 22, this 3 or 4 years, the question on my Ask Dr. Zakir is more information than all my questions in about 15 years of my public lecture. Yes, I purposely do not repeat what I've already given. So most of the comparative questions that I've answered in the public, I'm not answering here. Most of the common questions, it's being asked, but I'm not selecting it. So the difference in this is that which is more beneficial for the ummah. So I feel that this question answer session, of course, the impact of the audience is far better. I personally love it more. I like the audience. I get the live feel. But the benefit for the ummah is that this question answer session has its own impact. The talk has its own impact. But the second part of the talk with the question answer session, this is better. So I feel both are required. That's the reason I have given my editors more weightage for editing the question answer session. They asked Dr. Zakir. So both has, of course, the impact of a public lecture with the audience, with the jimmy jib. This is only with 3 cameras. That is the 10, 15, 20 cameras. And now, coming to your question again, that there was a gap for about 2 years, and when it restarted, I remember the first talk I gave was in 2022 in Malaysia in Perlis. It was the first public lecture allowed in Malaysia after the restrictions of COVID. And there the authorities put a restriction, not more than 1,000 people. So 1,000 people came. It was Dr. Zakir history, Dr. Zakir Naik story, from Bombay to Hijrah to Malaysia, and it was a 2.5 hours lecture. Now the situation is that when I started sending the request, I will only accept an invitation if it's from head of state. In this year, 2024, I got invitation from about 14 countries. Normally for public lectures in 2016, 2015, I normally accept invitations, pure public lectures, about 3 or 4. 3 or 4 countries. And in the Gulf country. Gulf country was common. Going to Dubai, going to Saudi, going to Qatar was common. So besides these 3 countries where I have to go repetitive every year, additional maybe 3 countries. Now in this year, I received invitation from 12 to 14 countries, fulfilling this criteria. So I decided, okay, I will go to at least 8 countries this year. So because of that, mashallah, we recently, just a couple of months back, we purchased the best of cameras. You know, when we used to travel before to any country abroad, we used to travel with a crew of about 50 to 55 people crew with me and my family. About 60 people used to travel. So when we went to Gambia, we went to Nigeria at that time, you know, so crew used to go along. So at that time we used to travel with 14 cameras. This time we purchased again the best cameras that's available in the world. Just a couple of months back, we purchased the Sony Venice 2, which is 8.6K, and we purchased the Angina lens, which is the best lens in the world. What we did that we purchased the 7 high quality best cameras in the world, and we are continuing with these cameras that we're recording. These are the FX9, which are cinematic cameras but of a lower end. So we'll do the recording with 10 cameras, and we decided to travel with about 15, 20 people. Previously it was 50 to 60 people. Now we decided we will make the crew a bit less, so 20 people. And because we accepted the invitation, that's the reason this Ask Dr. Zakir did not happen for the last 6 months. I was away. But naturally there was Ramadan in it, there was Hajj, not only lectures. But even now I was supposed to travel to an African country, but because there was some problem and riots, that got postponed. And inshallah, it will again start from September, October, November, December, again I'll be traveling. And when I travel, Ask Dr. Zakir Naik doesn't take place because they're busy with that. So both has its pros and cons. Allah knows best. He had the Ask Dr. Zakir Naik, you know, for about 3 years. And then it reduced, it's yet continuing. Now inshallah, from this year onwards, from 2024, there'll be more public lectures. And inshallah, I hope it will benefit for the Ummah, it will benefit me in this world and also in the Akhirah. So the public lectures, inshallah, will not be the same as before in the 90s and 2000s. But inshallah, go back to what we used to do in 2013, 14, 15, 16, where travel at least to 4 or 5 countries and have large audience. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that now the audiences will be larger. There are new topics that have come. So the matter in terms of available to the public on the social media, on the video, on the satellite has increased multiple times more. In terms of duration, it may be similar, but in terms of uniqueness, it is more. And I also spend time in doing more research. That if these questions are asked, the selection takes a lot of time, reading takes a lot of time, and then selecting is the main thing. And then we are more selecting those questions which are suppose asked by atheists against Islam, asked by those people who, while posing to Muslims, they can get deviated. So it has its own benefit. That's the reason I enjoy this session of Ask Dr. Zakir, but I also miss the program. Now what I miss, one thing wasn't asked by you, which I'm missing more, it is the peace conferences. The peace conference is something what I miss the most since I've left India, especially Bombay. The thing that I miss the most, besides my family, that's my parents and brothers and sisters, the thing that I really missed in terms of dawah is the peace conference. Other things, alhamdulillah. But the peace conference, the way we used to have in Bombay, you know, we had for many years, and the audiences used to be hundreds of thousands in one sitting, over 10 years, about 1 million people. You know, the audience is coming in large numbers, more than 30 speakers coming from different parts of the world. This we missed. And I was hoping to have this, and I spoke to a few people about which is the best place to have it, you know, which country would be the best. And unfortunately, most of the Muslim countries may not like having such large audiences and large number of speakers coming, but there's good news for you. Inshallah, after 6 months, in January, that is in the last week of January, from the 24th, 25th, 26th, for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2025, we'll be having not the same level of the peace conference what we used to have in Bombay, but we'll be having the Pearl Sunnah Convention This year, there were 6 speakers, and I spoke to the Mufti and the authorities, and they agreed this time they'll have 18 speakers. It's going to be for 3 days, and 18 speakers, international speakers, most of them who come on Peace TV will be there. It will be for 3 days. It will not be the same large audience, but at least the speakers will be together. What we had done in 2022, because we didn't have a peace conference, we had a brainstorming session in Qatar in 2022, immediately after Ramadan, in April and May, for about 5 days. And we had the top duats, 14 coming and discussing about the various aspects. And this time we'll be having the Pearl Sunnah Convention after 6 months in January 2025. And inshallah, it may not have that large audience, but we expect at least 10,000 people to attend this convention. So the peace conferences that are there were large number of audiences that used to have, unlike any other conferences, it will be the largest in the world. Inshallah, Allah will make it possible that we'll have these large conventions and conferences very soon. Inshallah, in the coming years, we'll have bigger conferences with large number of duats. See to it that the entry is free, absolutely free, so more number of people can benefit from it. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may He make us instrumental in spreading the deen.